Just out today, a few things on my mind. I've got a boot full of cameras and I'm not today on an assignment, but I've got a couple coming up and I try always to fine tune the business. The job that I've got coming up is for a travel company and this is a group of people on an incentive tour. And you can see on my Instagram a video I've made for a previous group. And from that basis, there were a lot of questions coming up after, as in, how many photos do we get? This was a last minute booking and I just thought to myself, I'll adapt a new contract. I tried to get them to send, to take a contract and sign it, but it was, as I say, last minute. They weren't keen on it, so I just still did the work. This was paid in advance, so there wasn't really too much problem with the payment. So in a photography video services contract, you need to put all the information including the date, your name, the client name. These all should go. Obviously I put brackets here, might even edit it online. But as you can see here, the photographer and client are collectively referred to as the parties and individually as a party. So the first section we will put is like the scope of services. The photographer agrees to provide photography services as described below. So you're going to put then the event and project description, whether it's a wedding, portrait session, commercial shoot, the date of service, the location or locations, and duration, expected duration, for example, a whole day, 2 days, etc. We'll come on to the editing side a little bit later, but we want to get into the meat of this contract here now. The photographer will perform services in a professional manner using industry standard equipment and techniques. Should you list the equipment? I'm not really sure, should you? I think you could probably put your main cameras down, but I mean personally I'm using about 3 or 4 cameras. So that really for me does cover industry standard equipment, does cover really what I'm using and the amount of the units that I'm using. So compensation, second part. Compensation obviously is very important, whether your hourly rate, client agrees to pay the photographer an hourly rate per hour, X amount per hour for the services. We'll come on to rates in a little while. But what is also important is very clearly put down the additional hours beyond the agreed upon duration, billed at X amount per hour, whatever you want to put down there. A payment schedule, non-refundable deposit of a certain percentage of the estimated total upon signing this agreement to reserve the dates, and the remaining balance is due on the day of the event within 7 days of the issuance of the invoice. Payment method, you put your payment method down. Late fee not received within a certain amount of days of the invoice date. Will incur late fee percentage per month on the outstanding balance. Expenses, the client shall reimburse the photographer for a reasonable out-of-pocket expenses incurred in connection with the services. Included, but not limited to, travel expenses, per kilometre mileage, airfare, accommodation, equipment rentals. For me doesn't come into it, but we'll put that in, anyway, to remind us or take it out if we're not renting. Permits or location fees, also expenses. Revisions. The client is entitled to a specific number or round of reasonable edits to the deliverables. Additional revisions may incur a fee per hour. Raw files is like a grey area, because with raw files, you can spend hours editing them. So you need to put by a certain amount if they request raw files. You know, with a travel company, it's not likely, but it could be. So you need to have a look at that. Sometimes that can be, you know, double the charge of a normal shoot with JPEG. You know, obviously high quality JPEGs. So worth looking at before. Now, here we have copyright and usage rights, ownership. Who owns these photos? And it's pretty obvious. This is, you know, the full copyright is retained by the photographer. The ownership of all the material. And you have to be clear that, you know, you're allowing the permission and use of this material. It's taken by you, but the client might not understand really this concept, because any raw material, media material, as a lot of people know, also in music, is the copyright originally is owned by the artist or photographer. And the other aspect is obviously if the photographer wants to use the material he's taken for the client, he or she's taken for the client, this has to be specified also that you are able to do that, maybe to use for your own website, your own media content, social media, etc. Always, when in doubt, you'll put that paragraph in. If the client cancels the services, the deposit is non-refundable. So obviously you want to make it about 30 to 40%. So the client would focus pretty much on making sure that they're going to go ahead and something small would not disrupt the schedule. Cancellations made within a certain amount of days of the event will incur cancellation fee in the contract. Photographer cancellation: if the photographer unable to perform the services due to illness, emergency, etc., the photographer will make reasonable efforts to secure a replacement photographer of similar skill at no additional cost to the client. If no replacement is available, the photographer will refund all payments made by the client. The client may reschedule the service subject to the photographer's availability, provided written notice is given a certain amount of days prior to the event. A rescheduling fee may apply. It's also good to be reasonable with this because, how much does it cost to reschedule? Not much. I think if you're very, very busy, then you can make a small charge. Liability: for any claim arising from this agreement should not exceed the total amount paid by the client for the service. The photographer is not responsible for loss or damage due to the equipment, failure, data loss, or other technical issues beyond their control, provided reasonable care was taken. The client's liability: the client was responsible for obtaining all necessary permits, permissions, or access for the event location. The client shall indemnify the photographer against any claims arising from the client's failure to secure such permissions. Model release: the client grants the photographer permission to photograph all individuals present at the event and use photographs as lined in Section 5. For any individual objects to be photographed, the client is responsible for notifying the photographer in advance. 10. Independent contractor: photographer is an independent contractor, not an employee of the client. The client pays their own taxes, insurance, and business expenses. And then we're coming on to 11, 12, 13. The agreement on 11, governing law: this agreement shall be governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of Switzerland or your residing country. Any disputes arising from the agreement shall be resolved in the courts of the country, city, county relevant to the work. This agreement, as in 12, the entire agreement constitutes the entire understanding between the parties and supersedes all prior arrangements, written or oral. Any amendments to this agreement shall be made in writing and signed by both parties. Finally, severability: if any provision on the agreement is found to be invalid or unenforceable, the remaining provisions shall continue in full force and effect. All contact information underneath will come on in a minute to notes for customization, signatures, client signature, etc. All, obviously, as I've said before, below in the attachment, I'm going to attach this contract. For anybody who wants to ask questions, please do so in the comments below. Important subjects like this, especially contracting, you could subscribe to my channel. I hope that you do. I'm very happy to be connected with you today, and we look forward to be connected with you again soon. Just on the footnote of this document, we have notices for customization. I think this is quite important because what I didn't add in this contract, the safe location of the equipment. And so the client must provide a safe location for the equipment. And, it's their liability. And if you tell them, if it's in the contract, you will charge for any equipment stolen or missing from anywhere like, places where the public are, receptions of hotels, train stations, etc. So very important, I think, that that's put in. And it was just also through experience when I've said I want a table, that's maybe sectioned off from the main crowd, and providing me a lot of security on having my bags open, cameras charging, etc. Very useful clause in the contract that helps me relax at the shoot and do my work without worrying about anything. And also additional clauses for confidentiality, overtime policies, or equipment damage, or etc. And customization. Weddings might for sure go overtime. What exactly, while commercial shoots maybe need faster turnarounds. And going back to parts of the contract, in the contract, it's also, in my last contracts, I've always specified exactly how many gigabytes it's around 150 to 200 gigabytes, few hundred photos, and I pop a little video. If I'm happy with the payments and everything, then I'm pretty good at making videos. I think I'll just pop up a 2-minute video, and then there's always a chance you can upsell, and they say, okay, could we do a 5-minute video? Could you do a 5-minute for a certain amount? And you provide the service with a basic amount of editing, but you also need to consider that there might be further edits needed, certain types of photographs that they want printed, etc. So really it's between you and the client that you can add on these sections, always on the contract. And I say, like, everything should be really on that contract. And for me, when everything's on the contract, then the client is safe, we are safe, etc. So I hope this has been a great use for you. This contract's going down as a link underneath in the description. I hope to see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed the video, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.